Hey guys, welcome to my Pi YouTube channel. And I'm tired. And I know you guys don't want to tune into a channel where somebody's like, "Oh, I'm exhausted. I'm so tired." So I'm not going to bore you with that. But I did sleep in past 12 o'clock yesterday and today because, man, this was a rough week. If you watched my live event, my dad is in the hospital. And so it's not easy when the people you live with are in the hospital. But it always the things that happen to us always have a purpose. And I'm gonna post a question for you guys. Why do you think we all grow older and die so early? I mean, I'm 50. Time goes by pretty fast. And it goes by in a blur, especially when you're trying to make a living, trying to build a family or whatever. Right? Everybody's trying to strive for something instead of being at peace and being able to live in peace with each other. The delusions of the mind and how it thinks it needs to keep yourself safe is what causes that. I mean, if we had communities that were growing closer over time instead of farther apart, then people would live a much longer life. Now, uh, why? Can you tell me, as the viewer, do you believe that we don't have communities that grow closer together? Right? Most of the time, as we grow older, our families, you have kids and then grandkids, and so you can spend less time with less people that you knew from the past if you're, involved with your grandkids and your kids and their extended families. Sometimes those, and then trying to do what you need to do for yourself. But generally speaking, the time during the week that we have together is not involved with larger systems, right? It's not generally not involved with larger community. Grant County PD, where I worked before, was about as close to that as you can get, but it grows toxic on the inside because of the way it's structured, right? Management structures and control-based structures. It doesn't allow us to use our creativity and together and create new things together. The things that will keep you alive instead of killing you over time. And it's hard to see it from that perspective. And you really don't understand it until you really understand how to interact with people energetically. That's why we have YouTube reader channels and tarot card reader channels, because everybody's reading each other's energy and saying, "Oh, yeah, you're really coming back," or "Man, these people out there hating it," whatever. Whatever kind of tarot card channel you're watching, a lot of conflict out there. And the conflict is all in the mind and what we understand to be true. And the bigger picture is more and more people are starting to understand that they just have to protect their peace because too much of the organism is in a state of stress because it's worried about something out there instead of understanding that it has everything it needs for itself. Um, and nothing can do anything out to you out there if you can master yourself. There's nobody out there that can harm you because you're whole. How could somebody out there harm you? And that's why, when you ask most people, like, could you live with your parents until they died? It'd be like, no, heck no. They were terrible. I didn't want to live with those people. But process if you can do it. If you can tell yourself that I could live with anybody and love anybody, it will temper you to the point where, I mean, there's so many people, but then there's some people that just they don't want to grow up, right? And so uh, we all have to live with the end result of what we decide for ourselves. And if we don't start building communities that grow closer instead of growing apart, we will all grow old and die isolated because your roots aren't growing. So your branches can't grow. What you're producing will always be less if you don't let your roots grow and connect with I mean, dad going to the hospital has been a blessing in disguise because it enables me to connect with extended family that I haven't heard from in a long time. And when one of us is ill, that's what really gets to the, the base separation that separates everybody, fear of death. Because when your family member gets sick, they're facing that, right? You're dealing with all that stuff that directly. And you have to empathize with that because, you know, all the time that we spent together, that where we lived together and loved one another, so precious to us, even if it was dysfunctional in a way. We care about those people. We don't want to see each other die. And so that fear of death triggers the number one reason why people drive themselves apart and why they externalize things to try to grab onto stuff because they're afraid of dying. If you can't die, you don't need to hang on to anything. There's no point hanging on to trying to grab onto something. That's why the Fool card in the tarot deck is so powerful because he just jumps off the cliff. So he's taking leaps of faith. He has no idea where he's going. Right? I should have put the Fool card in. I never know where these conversations are. It's my YouTube channel, just talking. And so one of the most difficult things, standing in your power and that in that aspect and understanding that and saying, okay, well, people have to decide on their own. You can't control anybody. All you can do is teach and see and, you know, try to reveal how we can heal one another with our hearts because it drives straight to the heart. When the fear of death will drive straight to the heart because that's where you are living from your heart space. Your mind is just trying to interpret it. Your mind is trying to interpret the energy coming from your heart and how it's impacting your environment and how well you can love yourself. And that, when you talk about love yourself, talk about everything that you can see in yourself. Very powerful. Right. Um, so yeah, there isn't anything to be afraid. You shouldn't. And the only thing that is keeping us from growing closer together is fear. When people talk about standing in their power, and if they are creating any kind of image in their mind by standing in my power, then you owe me this, right? Something. Uh, then it creates a toxicity in the mind because if we're all one, our debts are paid. Nobody should ever owe you anything. They do. They do and don't owe you everything. They don't in the sense that you don't owe me anything according to your own understanding, but they do in the long run because we all grow back together at the end. So from the highest perspective, we owe each other, all of each other. And if we don't, if we're not willing to give our time to one another, we kill ourselves. That's a really hard lesson to learn. Because if you isolate yourself from anybody out there for any reason, in a way, you're killing yourself because you can't accept them where they're at. You're all blind thing. Don't ever get hard on your own blindness because it will twist your mind as far as what somebody else is going through, maybe what they've unconsciously done to themselves. I don't think anybody wants to consciously give themselves pain. Masochists, get addicted to pain because that's 99% of the time that they grew up in a household that was just painful to live in. So you grow to like it if, anyway. Love you guys. I'm just talking here on a Saturday night. Figured I'd make a video for you guys. Just tell you what's on my mind and what's in a way that's always a channeled message or what you guys need to hear. Because if I don't, am I afraid to share with, if I'm afraid to share with myself, then yeah. Love you guys. Have a great day, and I'll catch you on this.